There is a kind of blindness that cannot be corrected with glasses or education, a blindness not of the eyes, but of the mind. It is the blindness of people convinced they are seeing clearly, when in fact they are looking through the fog of others' thoughts. And what makes this even more dangerous is that they are certain they're doing good. This certainty is not harmless. In fact, it is far more destructive than intentional wrongdoing. A person who commits evil often knows, at least in some recess of their conscience, that they are doing wrong. They hide, they lie, they justify, but the person trapped in moral certainty, the one acting under the spell of righteousness, believes they are saving the world, and this conviction makes them unstoppable. You cannot reason with them, you cannot persuade them, because you are not confronting a person. You are confronting a narrative that has possessed them. Today, we explore how ordinary individuals become agents of destruction not through malice, but through identification with an idea, a group, or an ideology that overrides their inner compass. We will examine how thinking is replaced by parroting, how ethics are replaced by tribal loyalty, and how individuality is swallowed by the herd. And most importantly, we will examine how this happens to you, without you noticing. This is a deep dive into one of the most overlooked philosophical dangers of modern life, collective delusion. And if we are to remain free, if we are to remain human, we must learn to see it, resist it, and reclaim our capacity to think. It's easy to assume that the spread of dangerous ideas happens because people are uneducated or foolish. But history does not support this view. Some of the most horrific events in human history have been carried out not by the ignorant, but by the educated, the elite, the respectable. They wore suits, held degrees, quoted moral principles, and still became complicit in monstrous acts. So what happened? The issue is not a lack of intelligence. It is the surrender of thinking. It is the outsourcing of moral judgment to an external system, be it a state, a religion, a political movement, or even a popular trend. When individuals stop thinking for themselves, they don't become neutral. They become vessels, carriers, repeaters. They echo the slogans. They enforce the rules. They believe, obey, and enforce. Because questioning feels dangerous. Because conformity feels safe. In this state, people do not see themselves as doing harm. On the contrary, they feel virtuous, they feel righteous, they feel like heroes of their own movie. And that's exactly what makes them so dangerous. The human being is a social creature. We need belonging. We long for connection. But this very need is the open door through which group identity replaces individual conscience. You see it in politics, in religion, in corporations, in online subcultures. First, we find a group that seems to reflect our values. Then we start adapting ourselves to fit in. We suppress the doubts. We repeat the accepted language. We perform the rituals. At some point, we stop noticing that we've stopped thinking. This process is not usually dramatic. It's subtle. It happens in quiet steps, one silence at a time. A friend says something wrong, but we say nothing. A leader crosses a moral line, but we justify it. A policy hurts people, but we tell ourselves there must be a good reason. Over time, we become less ourselves and more of a mask. We become echoes, not voices. We become copies, not characters. And when this process reaches a critical mass in a society, the result is not unity. It is mass psychosis. This surrender of the self is not accidental. It is incentivized. Institutions often function not to awaken individuals, but to produce predictable behavior. The goal is order, not insight. Efficiency, not meaning. Schools reward obedience more than creativity. Corporations prefer loyalty over truth, telling. Media favors outrage over reflection. In such a system, the individual who dares to think for themselves becomes a problem. They slow down the process, they ask difficult questions, they refuse to conform, and so the system develops a quiet hostility toward thinkers. It rewards the agreeable, it promotes the adaptable, it elevates the polished mask over the messy truth. And over time, the system no longer even needs to silence dissent. It simply produces people who no longer think dissenting thoughts. This isn't just theory. Psychology has revealed, again and again, just how easily the average person abandons their conscience under pressure. In one study, participants administered what they believed were dangerous electric shocks to strangers, just because a man in a lab coat told them to. They were not sadists. They were normal people. They hesitated, but they continued. Obedience overruled empathy. In another study, people gave obviously wrong answers to simple questions, just because others around them did the same. The fear of being different was stronger than the desire to be right. These aren't anomalies. These are reflections of how we function under social pressure. And these findings point to an uncomfortable truth. Most people do not make decisions based on truth. They make decisions based on approval. Why do we do this? Why do we abandon our own eyes, our own mind, our own heart? Because thinking is hard, because standing alone is terrifying, because we have been conditioned to believe that safety lies in numbers, not in truth. But the irony is this: the more we seek safety in the group, the more we lose the only thing that can truly protect us, our individual conscience. When the inner voice is silenced, we become susceptible to any external narrative. We become programmable, and in such a state, evil no longer needs to wear a terrifying face. It comes smiling. It comes as patriotism, as public health, as social justice, as national security. It comes wrapped in good intentions. And that is what makes it so invisible. So what's the alternative? How do we reclaim the self in a world that rewards its destruction? It begins with a decision to stop reacting and start reflecting. It means asking hard questions, even when the answers cost us. It means reclaiming solitude, not as loneliness, but as sacred space for thought. It means noticing the moments when we silence ourselves for approval and choosing courage instead. It means reading slowly, listening deeply, speaking truthfully, even when it hurts. It means learning to live without applause, to stand without a crowd, to think without a script. This is not easy. It is not glamorous. It will cost you friends, comfort, even status. But it is the only path that leads to real freedom, because no system, no ideology, no group can ever give you what only self-awareness can: the ability to live in truth. The real danger of our time is not censorship. It is self-censorship. It is not propaganda. It is the eagerness with which we swallow it. It is not oppression from above. It is compliance from below. The final question is not theoretical. It is deeply personal. Are you really thinking for yourself? Or are you repeating? Are you choosing your path? Or are you following out of fear? Are you living in truth or in comfort? You cannot awaken others until you have awakened yourself. You cannot challenge the world until you have challenged your own illusions. And you cannot be truly free until you are willing to be misunderstood. So now the choice is yours: silence or consciousness, imitation or authenticity, safety or truth. If you're ready to make that choice to reclaim your mind, your conscience, your soul, then write in the comments, "I choose to think for myself." And don't stop here. The next video is essential to this journey. We're going deeper into the anatomy of ideological capture and how even the most sincere beliefs can become prisons. Hit the like button if this resonated. share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to keep walking this path. Because your mind is your last frontier, and the world needs people who are truly awake. See you in the next video.